you want to help your reader be like, hey, you know what? I can do that. Like, I can do this. This is totally doable. And so now everything I write is with the mindset of, how is this going to change my avatar's, not life. I mean, we're not creating oxygen here. We're putting out recipes, but how is this going to make it easier for this person to meal prep or create a healthy meal or be able to get their kids to soccer on time and not have to go through the drive-thru?
That was Sarah Cook, and this is episode number 160 of the Chopped Podcast. Hey everyone, I'm Marley of the blog Namely Marley. I am your host, and this is the Chopped Podcast. You know, this is the podcast designed for people just like you, bloggers who love food. You know, in this podcast, I love to think about encouragement. We also share interviews. We talk about tips. There's also a lot of strategy discussion, but there's also a lot of soul searching about what it is that we're doing here in this, I don't know, what would I call us? A community of bloggers who love food. Maybe we're sharing healthy recipes, or we're sharing indulgent recipes, or maybe we're lifestyle bloggers that, also share recipes as well. Maybe it's a food traveler. There's so many people that have blogs that are related to food in some way or another. And that's what we're here talking about today. But before we get started, I want to share with you a review of the week. This one is from Steph Deming, and she says, I am a freelance food writer, and I have to say this podcast really touches upon all aspects of the food blogging life. I love the fact that it's not just for people who own their own blogs. I have learned so many helpful tips just by listening to this podcast. Thank you, Steph. And you raised such a good point, because I never even think about the fact that there are people who are food writers or, writing on consignment for other blogs. And that's important as well, to talk about, the way we all are dealing with food in different ways. So thank you so much for your feedback. It really means a lot. And I don't know, don't you just love it when you hear positive feedback like this? I read recently, it's a topic I've been thinking about a lot because I've been reading this awesome book called Emergence by Derek Rydell. And he says in this book that if there's something that you're not getting enough of in your life, let's talk about positive feedback, for example. I'm sitting here telling you how much I love receiving positive feedback. And, I have been through periods where I have felt like it's not happening, where, maybe you're working really hard on your blog and you're not getting that positive feedback. What he says, if there's something that you're not getting enough of, that the answer is to give it more. And I love this. In fact, when I first heard it, I thought it sounded a little counterintuitive, but the more I think about it, the more I realize how true that is. What you want to receive, you need to give. So thank you so much, Steph. I want you to know your feedback really means a lot. So let's talk about today's discussion. Today, I'm talking to Sarah Cook. She's of the site Sustainable Cooks. Her site name has not always fit her personal name so easily. In fact, Sarah talks about the changes she's made to her site over time, including changing the name. I love this quote from her. I read it in the episode, but I just have to read it for you right now because it just sums up this episode so beautifully. She says, I started on Blogger, went viral on Pinterest with a terribly junky post before I even had a Pinterest account. I switched to WordPress, changed designs and focus and niche 3 times, rebranded, and along the way, messed with my permalink structure and URLs to the point of almost crippling my site for a year. In a nutshell, I've been a hot mess who could be raised up as a beacon for your guests of what not to do. Oh, I love this because it just, it's just this vulnerability, this realness, this rawness. We've all done these things. I can't imagine. It's so far, everybody that I've talked to has had some major mess ups along the way, or just definitely a lot of self-doubt and questioning and stepping back and moving forward. It's like that song, 2 steps back for every step forward. I love how Sarah talks, shares just about the realness of what she's gone through. She talks about how at one point she was ready to quit, and then she just had this moment, like this one of those aha moments where she was like, I love this. I don't want to quit. And I want to, I want to do this right. And what I've been doing isn't working. It kind of reminds me of the book that I read, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And the whole point of it is sometimes the things that we do to get us to a certain point won't take us forward. We have to learn new skills eventually. And that's what Sarah is talking about. The skills that she learned to take what she had started and turn it into something that was more sustainable for her life. So we talk about a lot about the technical sides of things of her work, for example, SEO, keyword analysis. She also talks about how she analyzes the content that she has on her site and the things that she's sharing to help her better understand her audience. And I love this discussion because I oftentimes feel like people will talk about how they know their audience, but then I'm always questioning, like, what does that mean? How do you know your audience? What are the things that you do to know your audience? And so I love that Sarah shared that so willingly. She also talks about a weekly post that she writes on her site that really helps her audience stay in touch with her and know her life. And she just talks also about how she handles these posts from an SEO perspective as well. I loved this heartfelt conversation. And I don't know, I think in a world where it seems like everyone appears as if they've got it all figured out, as if they're perfect, their life is perfect, everything is perfect. This is just a brilliant light of realness, and I just loved it. I think you will too. Let's get to it. Here's today's featured discussion with Sarah Cook. Hey everyone, I'm so happy to have Sarah Cook. She's of the site Sustainable Cooks, and she's on the show today. Hey Sarah, welcome to the Top Podcast.
Hi Marley, I'm so happy and excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited for you to be here as well, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. I think we seem like we have a lot of things in common as far as our grit and determination about the work that we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think it might help everybody if we just start with a little bit of a description about you. Can you say for everybody, I guess you could kind of lead to what was it that caused you to start your blog and maybe give a little bit of background about that.
Sure. So Sustainable Cooks is actually the new name of my old blog. I started blogging in 2010 under the name Frugal by Choice, Cheap by Necessity. And I started that blog because in 2010, during the height of the recession, my husband was laid off on April Fool's Day from his job.
That's not fair.
And no, not fair at all. Nor was it funny. Like I thought he was joking at first, but no,
I bet
that's not the case. And so, our lives kind of changed immediately. And so I started doing research and finding out all these amazing things we could do to save money. And at the time I was part of an online community of about 20, 25 other women. And so I was sharing all the stuff I was finding. And after a few weeks, I'm like, geez, I'm really dominating the board with this stuff. I'm kind of being annoying. So then I decided to start a blog to annoy strangers.
Yeah, don't annoy people you know. Right. Go after the people you don't know.
Exactly, because if they come to me and decide to stick around, they have no one to blame but themselves at that point.
That's right. Yeah, you're doing this voluntarily.
Exactly. So. You can go somewhere else. The internet's very big.
Well, I also like your approach because I do think it's easy to get freaked out when there's some change to, your living expenses or life circumstances. But your response was to say, hey, let's buckle up here and there's ways we can save money.
Yes. I mean, there was definitely some freaking out. I don't want to give off the impression that there was no freaking out. But I'm the kind of person where I make a plan. And I have to have, my checklist and my to-do list. And then when all that is done, then I can freak out. So this was kind of like my triage the situation, get myself
Stop
a plan.
Bleeding.
Yeah,
Yes.
Be very type A. And then I can freak out. Once I have a plan in place, then I can freak out about how to implement it. But I do need that plan in place to kind of like calm my soul a little bit.
So where was your blog at this point? Was it already starting to make some money so that you had your eye on it as possibly being a business?
No, I started it 5 months after he was laid off. So I had, and it was just meant for me kind of thing. And then I think I added some Google AdSense, like 6 to 9 months later. But no, it was really just a way for me to be like, At the time I kept saying writing was cheaper than therapy because we couldn't afford therapy.
Yes.
Because we were broke.
Therapy's expensive.
It is. And we were broke.
Yes.
So it was just really my therapeutic, oh my gosh, I got to get out there. It was, a digital to-do list. And this is how you can handle stressful situations. And then, strangers started commenting and stuff started getting shared. And I'm like, oh, maybe I can do something with this.
That's pretty exhilarating, isn't it? When you get your, one of your first comments from somebody you don't know.
It absolutely is. But you can also think, is this one of my friends who's kind of just playing a prank on me? Or
Yes, exactly. But still, obviously, what you were sharing was touching people in some way, and they felt this, like they could take advantage of your type A personality as far as dealing with this problem.
Well, and I mean, at the time, 2010, a lot of people were going through it. So,
yes.
I mean, now I know that's called niching down, but at the time it was just like a lot of people were going through it and they could identify with it. And maybe if I shared 10 things, maybe 5 resonated with their life. So
I also liked another story that you shared on your blog because, I mean, a lot of people will share the story that, you started your blog because, you wanted to share these tips with people. But, it seems like some people will say they also want to stay home with their kids. And I noticed that you mentioned that. But you also talked about this care of your ailing parents. And I thought that was such a touching story. I loved it so much.
Yeah. So my parents moved in with us. So my family and I, my husband and my 2 boys, we live in the house I grew up in. Because my parents, so my dad's an amputee and my mom had multiple sclerosis. And they couldn't take care of this house anymore. They moved out. They couldn't sell it because, the recession. My husband and I moved back from California. Long story short, we ended up renting the house. And then it got to the point where it just wasn't safe for my dad to take care of my mom anymore. And I was like, this is stupid. Let's just renovate the house and move in with us.
Yeah.
So they did that in April of 2015. I found out I was pregnant with my second 2 months later, and then decided, okay, between helping my parents, having a new baby, and my husband's a firefighter, so he works 24-hour shifts. I was like, this is all too much with working full time and commuting and all that. And I was like, well, maybe I'll approach the blog as kind of my replacement position, that kind of thing, which is good because a few months after that happened, my mom was diagnosed with cancer and we only had her for 11 more months. So if I had been working and trying to do everything, I would never get that time back with her.
Yes. And then what a gift, to help somebody go through all that and to be there for them. I mean, I can only speak from my personal experience with my own mom who has gone through some issues over the last year. And my sister and I have been, right there for her. And it's scary because, things happen. And then, I mean, I think people, it's easy to have a lot of faith in the healthcare system. And yet they get in the hospital and things start happening really fast. And you need somebody there to be an advocate. So it's good that you could be there for her.
Well, in the job that I left, I actually was a recruiter in the healthcare field. So I worked with like 12 nurses every day. So they were an amazing resource, and they still are. I still text some of them with questions and things like that. But yeah, I mean, not everyone is in a position to take care of their parents, but or family members, but if you are able to, I mean, it wasn't easy by any means, but I wouldn't trade that time.
That's wonderful. And it's just a very touching story. So during this time that you're, having children and also taking care of your family and your parents, your blog was starting to turn into something that was actually bringing in money?
A little bit of money. Yeah. So I really didn't start taking it seriously or treating it like a business until last summer. So it was just bringing in something, and I assumed, well, that's all it's going to do. At the time, it was great to have a little bit extra money, but at the time, more than anything, it was a distraction from my reality. So, I wasn't making a lot of money, but having an outlet that's just yours is pretty priceless.
It is. I love this quote from you because you said, you reached a point where you buckled down and you started working your ass off to create the best content you could for your readers. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I was last May, so May of 2017, I was going to quit. I was like, I'm not doing anything with this. It's going nowhere. It's stagnant. My page views had actually declined over the last few years. I was like, this is stupid. I'm not going to, nothing's going to come out of this. And then I kind of just had a pep talk moment with myself. And I was like, you don't quit. You're not a quitter. Why are you giving something up that you really, really love? And so I was like, well, if I'm doing the same thing and nothing's changing, maybe I need to learn how to do something better. And that's where, that's where you came in. You were the second food blogging podcast I ever listened to. And it's completely helped to change my mindset and what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So thank you.
I'm so glad to hear that. I imagine you feel the same way with the work that you do when you're doing something and you hear people give you that feedback that it's helped them. It means everything,
It does, because, some people make so much money at blogging, but there's no amount of money that could ever replace this is how you changed my life kind of moment.
Right. I so agree with that. And I think it's so easy to want to chase the money. And I totally understand. I'm not criticizing people who do that. But I also think there's just got to be something more. I keep thinking about that Seth Godin comment where he said, he's that kind of famous marketing guru. And he said, you need to build something that you're proud to leave behind. And when I heard those words, it's like things clicked for me and it changed. It's like, yes, I don't need to quit. And I can quit worrying about is this person posting a chocolate caramel cake? Okay, that means I've got to do that. No, instead I can start worrying, spending my time envisioning what I want my site to be like and building that.
Exactly. And not only with that, chocolate cake example, you can also now take it back to, do my readers even want a chocolate cake?
Yeah,
sure,
exactly.
This person's doing this because that's what their readers want. But I've learned, and I still do post desserts, but I've learned my readers don't want desserts. But sometimes I'm sharing a dessert because it needs to get out there. But my readers don't want desserts. So if I'm chasing what everyone else is doing, then I'm not actually thinking about the person that I'm writing for.
I love this. We're getting into the good stuff here because, you also said something else on your site that I really liked, which is you described this paradigm shift. And I wonder if that's what you're talking about here, where you said you stopped writing for me and started writing for we.
Yes. And I didn't make up that quote. I heard it on one of the 1,000 podcasts I listened to. So I'm not taking credit for it, but it really,
I'm quoting you.
It really resonated with me though. Because 2010, I started a blog about myself. And in 2010, every blog was about the person who was writing it. Mm-hmm. And eventually I realized, people aren't necessarily here for me. Now, some people are because they want the sarcasm and the snark, or they want to feel like they're not alone in being weird and quirky and things like that. But they're here for what you're giving them. They always say, be the Luke in your own Star Wars story or something like that, or help your reader be the Luke in their Star Wars story. But then I heard someone say, no, let the reader be the Luke and you get to be the Yoda. Or I'm probably messing this up, but basically, you want to help your reader be like, hey, you know what? I can do that. I can do this. This is totally doable. And so now everything I write is with the mindset of, how is this going to change my avatars? Not life. We're not creating oxygen here. We're putting out recipes. But how is this going to make it easier for this person to meal prep or create a healthy meal, or be able to get their kids to soccer on time and not have to go through the drive-through? That's really,
that's huge. How to cook, when they don't feel like cooking. That's huge.
Right. And also to let people know that, a dinner doesn't have to be a complete, like, fancy meal. My readers know very well that every single Friday I serve my family leftovers and popcorn for dinner, and we watch movies. Because, back when I was working full time and my husband was gone, by Friday I was done. I did not want to cook dinner. And so at the time, my toddler was like, I want popcorn for dinner. And I'm like, great, we're doing this always. And we still do it to this day. We watch a movie, we eat popcorn, sliced cheeses, things like that. But I'm like, I'm not cooking. It's okay to serve your family popcorn for dinner one night a week.
That's
and
right.
So I think if someone who's focused on food and nutrition and healthy stuff like I am, if I'm giving my readers permission to just serve your family a bowl of damn popcorn, then it's okay.
That's right. Yes. Well, I want to say another thing I love about maybe it's not your quote, but the one that you enlightened me about, which is this, I shift my paradigm from the me to the we, is that you're not leaving yourself out of it. It seems like I hear a lot of people say you should write only for your audience. And I don't feel like that's very fulfilling either. And so I like this relationship focused blogging. It seems like it includes you in that, formula as well.
Yeah, I like to say, people come to my site for the recipes or the gardening, but they stay for the snark. And it's not for everybody. It's definitely not for everybody, but for the people who it is for, they're very loyal. I have incredibly loyal readers, and they have to be, because for years I was kind of doing a crappy job of serving them. And so the ones who have stuck around, I mean, hats off to them. My readers are the best. They're amazing.
I definitely want to talk with you about that. I really am curious to know your thoughts on how you created a loyal readership. But what I'd like to ask you first is back to, you mentioned something about your audience not liking cake. And I'm curious how it is that you know that about your audience. What tools have you used to kind of better understand your audience?
So I look at, shares and Google Analytics and comments, things like that, to see kind of what's resonating. So my posts, I don't do a formal newsletter or anything right now. Because I don't have time. I have so much work to clean up. I have 8 years of junk to clean up. So I just still send out my emails through my posts through RSS feed. So I can look at open rates. Every time I share a dessert, it's like, bleh, nobody really cares. The comments are lower, things like that. Now my desserts can do well on Pinterest, but my audience, my readers, are not Pinterest, So I base it on how they react to a certain recipe. And so I kind of observed this for a few months. And then, so every Sunday I do a post called Scattered Sundays, where I kind of just put out, it's verbal diarrhea. There's no recipe. There's no nothing. This is what we did for the week. These are the stupid, silly observations I've made. And here's our meal plan for the next few days. And they're always my most popular posts, always, every single month or every single week. And I do nothing. I do no SEO, no keyword. There's no plugins. I throw up a few pictures from my cell phone. I mean, it's the least amount of work possible that gives me the highest return on investment. And so whenever I have questions for my audience or something to promote or anything like that, I always put it in my Sunday posts. And so after a few months of observing, this trending with my desserts and things like that, I just put it out there. I'm like, here's what I've realized about you guys. You don't like X, Y, or Z, and you do like X, Y, and Z. And I had like 20 people comment. They're like, yep, that's exactly right. And here's why. One person, and I'll never forget it made me laugh so hard. She's like, well, I don't like your desserts because they're too healthy.
That's true.
And I was like, hey, and other people said, I go to dessert blogs for desserts, or I don't have time to make dessert, or when I want a dessert, I really, really want to indulge and make something crazy. And that's not what you're giving us. And so I'm here for the side dishes. I'm here for the easy recipes. I'm here for the snark. And I was like, okay, done. This is what we're going to do. I mean, I still share a few dessert recipes here or there, but I've really toned it down.
But not the snark, right?
No, that's actually probably ramped up.
You know what I love about that is because, you and I both have gone through this process of having our sites evaluated by Casey for SEO.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think as a result of that, I've had a tendency, like I'm with you. I have 9 years of content on my site and some of it is just crap and it's terrible.
Oh,
And, I mean, I didn't know what I was doing in the early days. I was just putting stuff up. And anyway,
throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. That's exactly how
yes,
it was.
exactly.
Yep.
And so I feel like after going through that process, it's made me a little bit fearful of creating new content that doesn't have some kind of SEO value. Like, so I'm glad that you do these Sunday posts. I've been wanting to do something like that, and I've just been hesitant to do it just because of that very reason. But
Well, I will say, so I did go through the audit with Casey, and what we found is that the Sunday post brings a ton of direct traffic on Sunday and on Monday. And after that, there's absolutely no traffic value to them. So there's no search traffic or anything like that comes into these posts. So now what I do is after 4 weeks, I no index them. So that I'm not wasting my Google crawl allowance on Google crawling these posts that bring me nothing.
yes.
So that's kind of been my workaround is I still want to put these out there because people love them and they're
Yes.
so fun to write.
Yeah.
But in terms of long-term content, there's no value to it. So I just no index them. It's done through Yoast and I move on with my
Can
day.
you set it up in Yoast that it does that automatically after 4 weeks, or do you have to go in manually and do that?
I don't know. I do it manually. And so what I do is when I write a Sunday post,
Go
I
back
just
4 weeks.
go 4 weeks back and yeah. So it's
So there
30
is
seconds of
value to
work.
doing those kinds of things because it keeps people interested in what's going on with you and, sharing about your life and things like that. And it does bring in some direct traffic as a result, but it's just not bringing in long-term traffic. In other words, like after 4 weeks, it's kind of like it's bringing in nothing at that point. Okay.
Exactly. And in terms of added value, I would say if ever I have anything that I want to promote or if I'm an affiliate or I want to talk about a product, I put it on my Sunday post because that has the
Yeah, that makes
furthest
sense.
immediate reach. And so I always notice like Amazon affiliate will jump up for Sundays. If I want to direct readers to another blog because I'm interested in, sharing that that's what I do on Sundays.
Oh, I love that. And that actually leads me to my next question then, is what you mentioned earlier, which is that you have this very loyal readers and author or readership. And I'm just curious, what do you think have been the things over the years that has caused that to happen?
Well, I think so at the start, okay, let me take a step back. I always write truthfully. I don't sugarcoat things. At the same time, I don't constantly whine about things. I've been called Pollyanna for years. I mean,
Me too.
yeah, and that's fine. I'm willing to be that person. But at the same time, I don't hide the crap that I'm dealing with. Because I feel like that helps people be like, oh, me too. Like when we were broke because of the recession, people could be like, yeah, we are too. And, it sucks. Like
Yes.
nobody likes that. So that's been part of it. Also, I feel like I never got to the point where I was highly stylized. I've never had anyone say, well, this is how you appeal to readers and this is what you should do. And, maybe that's on me for not doing that. But, so I've never had that picture perfect life that I'm putting out there. So on Instagram and stuff, I share pictures, I share reality. And so people are like, yeah, me freaking too.
Yes.
And, like I said, my readers, they're the best. And they're amazing. Like when my mom passed away, they sent me emails, people sent me cards. We had people donate to a garden that we were creating at my mom's old school because she was a teacher, an elementary teacher. Yeah. They're just the best people ever. And I think it's just because I never, I'm trying to think of how to put this into words. I never tried to sell them a bill of goods. It's like, here I am. If you like it, great. If you don't, the internet's a big freaking place, go somewhere else kind of thing.
Right.
And, you know, I let my nerd flag fly and things like that. And so people are like, okay, this person, and I know the word authenticity gets thrown around too much, but I would say relatable. That's what people say.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that directly to my readers.
Relatable.
I'm relatable.
But don't you feel like there's some pressure these days to be less personable on our sites? I mean, it feels like there's pressure to, just stick with the recipe. That's all people are here for the recipe. Just give them the recipe.
Right. I mean, yes, that's true. But at the same time, you can still be who you are in sharing information about the recipe. And, I have people who comment on my blog. They're like, I've been reading you for 7 years and I'm gluten-free or I'm vegetarian. I can't eat 90% of what you post, but I stay because you make me feel better about myself. So I don't know what that says about me, that I'm making them feel better about themselves. But so, I mean, I think it's still really important because with everybody doing everything so perfect and, putting out this presentation of themselves that, their shit doesn't stink.
Yes. People
get really tired of that. And if, in 3 or 4 years, everybody's Instagram ready, then the person who's willing to share Instagram stories showing their new zit cream, that person's going to stand out more than the perfect, beautiful pictures.
Yeah, it is so funny.
I have done the zit cream on Instagram story.
You have?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I do definitely feel that on Instagram. And I have to admit, I think the people who are willing to be themselves, they do stand out. I know I found that for myself as well, because when I have broken away and shared, like a real picture of myself, and not like, when I say real, not like as in fake, but, like one that's not overly stylized, I guess. And it does really well. Right. And so I think to me, that's a indication maybe more people are looking for that. Let me just say it this way. It's very tempting on my part as a content creator to want to be perfect like the other people, right? But I'm finding when I'm more real, it resonates better with people.
Right. Exactly. And not only that, but it is exhausting to try and be perfect. It's so exhausting.
Oh my God.
And
yes.
Yeah, I'm not willing to trade my soul for 50,000 Instagram followers. I'm okay with my little community because I can tell you, I might have a small Instagram following or a smaller readership, but they are so engaged. I get more likes, more comments, more direct messages than huge accounts. And that's because I follow my readers, a lot of my readers back, and I know their kids' names, and I know that their little 2-year-old named Davy is obsessed with hot sauce, that kind of stuff. And I love learning about them. And I feel like Instagram lets me do that, unlike Facebook or anything like that. I love learning about them and I love getting to know them. And I mean, what's the point in doing this if it's just about money? You have to be able to help people.
Right. And I think to relate with people is good as well. Like you say, you're spending the time to get to know the people who are following you. And that's amazing.
And it's so fun. So the reward for me, it's even if it didn't help my business, it's so fun to get to know these people.
Right. And then, the nice thing about that is it's actually like, you're not doing it for this purpose, but you're learning more about them and realizing the kinds of things that you can then in turn share that will make their lives better.
That is exactly right.
Yeah. It's like the circle of life in some ways. It's cool. I like it.
I know.
Yeah. So you actually described it as a sort of therapy, like when you were, going through grieving with your mom, you would probably share about that and you're getting feedback from people. I mean, that's wonderful.
Yeah. And, I had a reader's mom pass away. I think it was April. And as soon as I saw that on Instagram, I reached out to her and, we still talk through direct message. We check in on each other. Everyone can relate to losing somebody that they love. And so, if you give people the opportunity to be good and kind and thoughtful, they generally take it. And so, and if I had just written about recipes and here's the recipes and here's the steps, nobody would know that kind of stuff. And nobody would be able to be like, oh yeah, me too.
Right. I love that. That's so good. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned that you've got 9 years of content that you're going through and updating. Can you describe some of the things that you're doing? I know it's probably, we don't have enough time to go into everything that you do for every post, but if you consistently, are there some things that you're doing differently now?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So, and it's 8 years. I think an extra year of crappy posts might do me in.
We don't want that.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So, back in the day, I would write up a post, and I started on Blogger. And so there was no recipe plugin, no anything. So I just typed a recipe into the body of the email or into the body of the post. 50% of the old posts had no pictures, and the other 50% had horrible pictures that were taken, at 10 o'clock at night in my fluorescently lit kitchen with a flash on my cell phone camera. That's like 340 by 340. So there's so much room to improvement. As an aside, my friend Angela likes to tease me about this one post that I had. It was a chocolate covered Madeleine. And when I finally redid it last November, she's like, oh, the other one looked like, we called it the poop cookie.
I think we all have a poop cookie somewhere.
We all have a poop cookie. I think we need to make that into a shirt, Marley.
That would be a good t-shirt,
or maybe
wouldn't
a
it?
coffee mug. We could sell that to other food bloggers. We all have a poop cookie.
Seriously, I had a stack of chocolate cookies that I posted on Google Plus way back when Google Plus was a thing. And somebody, there were interesting people who were on Google Plus. They were kind of speak their mind kind of people. And some guy commented, these cookies look like poop. And I'm like, what? That does not look like poop. But then after a while, I had to realize, yeah, he's probably right.
But at the same time, don't you want to go to that person and look through their life and then make them a comment and be like, oh, well, guess what about you?
Yeah.
I always say it's so easy to comment on other people's lives.
Is.
Like, you tried doing it.
I think it's very lazy to be overly critical. I really do. It's lazy.
Yeah, and who has time for that? I mean, if you have time for that, then you need more in your life.
That's right. That's right.
You can come help me do new photos and replace my poop cookie pictures.
Get your butt over here. And let's
Okay, so sorry. Back to your question.
What was my question?
What am I doing? What am I doing now for all posts?
I got distracted.
No, it's okay. The poop cookie can definitely be distracting. So back in the day, I did, no recipe plugin, no keyword research. I titled a post whatever the hell I thought would be funny. And therefore the corresponding URLs it's like when I repost something, because I'll tell you about this in a second, but I no longer change old posts, the URLs. I thought it would bring me there. I thought there was SEO value in it. And what I found is there's not. So now when I post stuff, I cringe at the old, it's like the best thing I've eaten in a week. Well, what the heck is that telling anybody? It's telling them nothing. Yeah. So now I start with keyword research. So I use Keywords Everywhere, which is totally free and super helpful. It's user friendly. So first I start with, do you want me to walk you through the process or?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I start with Keywords Everywhere and I type in 10 to 15 different keywords for what I'm trying to make. And I kind of see, I target between 2,000 to 12,000 searches per month. And so I kind of...
And we should clarify for everybody what Keywords Everywhere is. That's a Chrome add-on to do keyword research.
Yes. And it's completely free, which is nice. And you... And once you add it to Chrome, not only does it help you, so it gives you the monthly search volume, it gives you the competition and things like that. But then later when you're searching in Google, it also kind of pops up to the side and says, well, people also look for.
Yeah, so that's very nice.
Then you can, throw some of those keywords into your posts. So I do my Keywords Everywhere research and I say, okay, this is my keyword. This is what I'm going to be targeting. And then I go to Pinterest and I type in my keyword or what I think I'm going to post, my title post will be. And then I look at the little suggestions that pop up afterwards and I write down 5 to 10. And I use that to create my description. So that's going to be my meta description for Google. It's going to be my Pinterest description. It's going to be kind of the teaser at the top of my post. And then from there, I go into Google and I look at, I type in my keyword and I look at, the first 2 pages of posts and I read them to find out, gosh, this is what my post isn't going to have. Or, hey, this question keeps coming up. Everybody keeps wanting to know X, Y, or Z. And I also read the comments on those posts to see what readers want to know that the author didn't address.
Yeah.
And then when you're in Google, usually a little box pops up that says people also ask. And I look to see how I can incorporate that into my posts. So now we're like an hour in before I've even written a stupid word on this post. And then I figure out, 5 questions that I can answer in the post. And I put those in as H2 or H3 headings. And then I write everything. I do, so it's teaser snippet, big picture, little personal part about it. And then I start answering questions. So basically everything I put into a post is, how can I make this enjoyable for people? And how can I help them to, as Casey Marquis likes to say, how can I help them make it perfectly the first time and the 100th time? And then I usually take my pictures because I hate food photography and I put it off till the last minute because it's awful. But anytime.
It's funny that you say that because my process is the opposite. I really like having the photos there because I feel like they kind of inspire me as I'm writing.
Oh, well, you must like to take pictures.
Well, no, I mean, I don't know if you've noticed this, but you've heard me say this, but my husband and I do the food photography together. So
yeah, and you guys do like photo week or something like that?
Yes, exactly. I try to plan out, what I'm going to be doing over the next month and just kind of get it all done. And I like doing it that way. It really works for me.
The rip the Band-Aid off approach.
Yes, exactly. I have to be honest, I'm not a happy camper that week. It surprises me how much I don't like it, but at the same time, I love it the next 3 weeks. So it's kind of worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the last few weeks, my husband, so sometimes he works Sundays, sometimes he doesn't. It kind of just the firefighter schedule.
Yeah.
He's been taking our boys swimming and then doing like the whole Costco and Target run and stuff like that. And so I've been cranking out 2 to 3 photography or 2 to 3 recipes with all the photos in this like 2.5 hour window that they're gone. And yes, you're absolutely right. It's a lot of work, but it does help in the end. Yeah. But just the nature of my life and having little people around, especially when one of them was off for summer break, sometimes means I am doing that like one-off photo shoot at a time.
I mean, that at that point you just have to get done what you can get done, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And some of that, I mean, it's probably the easiest would be to do the stuff that's at the computer. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because they go to bed and I stay up till 11 or midnight and I'm not taking pictures at 11 or midnight.
No.
I mean, I have amazing natural light in my house, so I'm going to take advantage of it.
Right.
But what I can do is write during that time.
Yes, exactly. So it sounds like you do some batch work that way. Do you keep a list or a spreadsheet of the posts that you're updating?
So after my audit with Casey, I kind of went through all my junk. Oh, and I should say I deleted like 60% of my old posts.
Really? Just deleted
it? Deleted it, gone. And then I indexed maybe another 25 to 30%.
Wow. And
then I looked at the crap that was left and I was like, is this crap savable or is it, or should I just, then delete that too? And so I made a big list of all the junk that was left. And then I kind of looked at a cross between Google Trends and Simple Pin Media and Tailwind have a great planner that you can put out, like what to pin when, that kind of stuff. So then I looked at everything, and between Google Trends and figuring out when stuff gets popular, I made an editorial calendar on what to update when. So my calendar's through January 2019. So I know exactly what I'm going to post and when I need to update it and things like that. And it's all based on when that stuff becomes popular on Pinterest and in search.
Wow, you are organized.
Very type A, Marley. And I know you love your spreadsheets. And so you and I are, I mean, you're speaking my love language here.
So you have that all on a spreadsheet? That's very sexy.
Well, I know. I thought I was the only one who described Excel as sexy. So most of it's on a paper calendar, but I do have spreadsheets about like, what needs to be updated. And to be honest, like everything needs to be updated.
I know, yes.
I have so much stuff. I used to post 2 posts a week and then my Sunday posts. And now I've cranked it up to 3 posts a week plus Sunday. And honestly, I could post every day for the next 12 to 18 months and still not work through everything that needs to be done.
Oh, I know. Yes. There's a lot.
But there's so much. But at the same time, there's also new stuff I want to do. So I'm trying to find the balance.
Yeah, that is the hard part. I mean, okay, so you talked about deleting a lot of old content, and I think there's people that hear that and they just freak out. I've seen some people who are just like, it's the devil, don't ever do it. But I'm curious, did you see any good results after deleting this old content that wasn't serving any purpose?
Well, first of all, there was the emotional result of just letting go of junk.
Yes.
And I don't like clutter, and this stuff was clutter. So it gave me peace of mind of knowing that if some rando came to my site and clicked on a post, they wouldn't be like, what the heck is this chick smoking?
Yes.
Like, what is going on? So it gave me the peace of mind of feeling streamlined.
Yeah.
And I started doing a ton of SEO stuff and a ton of keyword research after my audit. Right at the same time, I deleted all this stuff. So it's very hard to say this is what worked and this is what didn't. But I deleted 60% of my old content, did a bunch of other stuff, and my organic search traffic went up 37% in 1 month.
Wow, that's huge.
It's huge. And again, it's hard to say that this one thing is what did it, but it obviously likely contributed to it.
Yes.
And so let it go, people. Drop the poop cookie.
Just let it
delete those old posts.
Yes. It's like getting rid of that, picture that your aunt so-and-so gave to you and you don't really like it, but you have it sitting out or, it's like getting rid of clutter physically is the same result, right? So I think that's what you're saying with your blog too.
Yeah. Don't let it hold you back.
Yes. I think Casey would probably put a warning in here that you just want to make sure nothing's linking to it. And there are tools to do that just to make sure that page, if nobody's linking to it and it's not bringing you any traffic, then delete it.
Right. And so, yes. And I had this conversation with Casey before I did it. And he said, make your buckets. This stuff needs to be junk. This stuff needs to be no indexed. This stuff is junk, but it has potential to be fixed. And that's what I'm focusing on now.
I have this weird idea. Like I wonder, this is a question I should probably ask him, but if the URLs don't really matter anyway, and if the URL has some age to it, and if that age matters at all, then you could just recreate, you could create your new posts with those old URLs. And I mean, I don't have dates in my URLs, so.
Yeah, I don't either. And so one of the stupid things I did was try to change my permalinks on my own. And then I started redoing old posts, but creating a new URL for it, and then redirecting the old post to the new URL. It was a hot mess. And what it did was crashed my Pinterest traffic in the 4th quarter of last year because I broke all of my oldest, most popular pins.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I say don't change your URLs for SEO purposes. At the end of the day, very few people besides you notice that your URL is the best thing I did in all month, whatever. So you can keep that history there without breaking it and just pretend, just don't look at it. Pretend that URL doesn't exist and just publish it anyway.
Yes. I want to read this quote to you. It's from, I don't know what it's from. It's either on your about page or an email you sent me. I'm not sure, but it says, in my blogging career, I started on Blogger, went viral on Pinterest with a terribly junky post before I even had a Pinterest account. I switched to WordPress, changed designs and focus niche in your niche 3 times, rebranded, and along the way messed with my permalink structure and URLs to the point of almost crippling my site for a year. In a nutshell, I've been a hot mess who could be raised up as a beacon for what people should not do.
Yep. Let me make the mistakes and I will tell you all about what to not do so that, your readers don't do the same thing.
Yeah, but you have stuck with it through all of this. And are you still happy that this is what you're doing?
Yes. And, so last May I was going to quit.
Yes.
And once I figured out that I shouldn't quit, my husband likes to say, like, if I'm like speed cleaning or something, he's like, geez, you got to bug up your butt about this. Like, you are just moving. And I've just had a permanent bug up my butt ever since I decided that this is what I want to do. And I feel more engaged, more excited, and more motivated every single day because of it.
Oh, that's so exciting. I mean, we all, if we could just go get a job if we wanted to feel unmotivated about the work that we're doing, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Yes.
If we're going to be doing this from home, let's love it.
Exactly. And there's parts I don't love.
Yes.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows, but the parts that you love have to outweigh the parts that you don't.
Right.
And for me, I go to bed at 11 or midnight because I have so much to fix, and I get up between 4 and 5. And yeah, I'm tired, but I'm so happy that I'm doing this, that in the end, it's okay.
I love that. Okay. So, I love to ask these questions at the end of the interview, and I hope you don't mind if we go into some of those.
No, let's do it.
Okay. So what is a food, to say this differently. What food do you love to talk about? What is your favorite food? I guess that's what I'm trying to say is, what is your favorite food, Sarah?
Like food or ingredient?
Food that you like to eat.
Okay, so my readers know that I have a love of Nutella.
Yes.
And when I am stressed out, Nutella is always there for me. A Nutella and a spoon. But I know it's not healthy or anything like that. So
you just straight with a spoon. You don't like put it on a banana or a cracker or anything?
No. What? I'm cutting out the middleman. I am being efficient and I am putting it directly into my mouth.
Yes. Get it in there, right? Like, yeah.
That's exactly right. But healthy food, I'm a gardener, so I love berries and tomatoes. So right now, this is like the best time of year for me.
Yeah. What kind of berries do you grow?
We grow raspberries, blueberries, strawberries, and then anyone who's ever been to the Pacific Northwest knows that blackberries grow wild everywhere. So we can pick free organic blackberries anywhere you want.
It's interesting, but blackberries grow in Missouri wild as well.
Are they super invasive?
In parts of Missouri, like I was thinking of southern Missouri where my sisters and I used to have a farm there, and they just grow wild everywhere. I mean, it's all the thorns, but they were delicious.
Yeah. So we're incredibly blessed, and we don't have to grow them because we can just walk 20 feet down the road and pick them.
Oh, you're so lucky. And
we're lucky.
I planted a raspberry bush a couple of years ago, and I got my first, little tiny baby raspberries this year. So I was pretty happy about that.
Doesn't it just make you feel like I can do anything? I planted this and it grew and now I get to eat it.
I feel like freaking Martha Stewart is what I feel like. I know. I want to do a documentary about my backyard now.
Exactly. Yeah. We call our front yard the micro farm, and we have chickens and stuff like that. I mean, we live on a tiny lot, but I have shoved a lot into it.
You probably love that, huh?
I do. Yeah. Our neighbors, they had little boys, and she always said that whenever she said, okay, we're going to Sarah's, her youngest would grab a bowl because he always knew there was something to pick when they were walking to my front door.
That makes you feel good too, doesn't it?
I love it. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I'm worried that my neighbors may not actually like us because we live in the suburbs, and I just don't believe in this monoculture yard where it's all grass. And so we have all the things, it's not like terrible weeds, but honestly, I don't even know why they call them weeds. They're beautiful. We have these we call them Indian strawberries. I don't know what they are, but they're just like this native low growth strawberry. They're not, you don't eat the strawberries, but they grow all over our yard and they're green. They fill up the space. They look gorgeous. I love them. Anyway.
You know, it's all about marketing. So what you need to tell people is that you planted a permaculture ground cover.
Yes. I mean, it doesn't have to be watered. It's green in the shade.
Yeah.
It's
you planted a sustainable living lawn.
I love it. I'm going to use your sustainable word just like that. That's perfect. Okay. I don't know if you have this, but what's the favorite app on your phone?
I like the weather app.
Yes.
And let me look at my phone. I have it right here.
I don't know if you could just hear it, but we were just going through a very terrible thunderstorm. We actually had hail while you were talking. Did you hear that?
Oh, no.
So
no.
Even in the Midwest, we like the weather app too.
Oh, and I love the Google Analytics app, which I just figured out is a thing like 3 weeks ago.
I knew it was an app. I've been worried about installing it. Like I'd be worried I'd be obsessed with it, but you don't find that's happening?
No, I like to check on it from time to time because if I find like one random post is getting a ton of traffic, it's fun to kind of search down why. And then I can also look at that post and be like, oh, geez, there's a lot of people on this site and it's crap. Maybe I can throw up a new picture, that kind of thing.
Yes.
It just helps me make more informed decisions.
I love that. Okay, I'm kind of rewording this last question because I'm trying to incorporate more than just TV. So do you have a favorite TV show or a book that you're reading? Because I think, reading is so important too. So either one that you want to share would be great.
So I love TV and I love movies. My husband actually used to work in television when we lived in Los Angeles. So
cool.
It's part of our lives, but I watch a lot less of it now.
Yes.
But when I want drama, I love The Americans. Okay. So good.
Really?
Oh my gosh, it's so good. And then when I want humor, I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine and The Last Man on Earth, which sadly just got canceled, but it's so good.
I like that show.
And we were so sad it got canceled.
They're going to do another season, aren't they?
No.
They're not even going to answer the thing that was in the last episode?
I know, and that's going to make me mad forever. Hopefully, like, Netflix will pick it up because it's... Oh, was that thunder?
Yes. Did you hear that?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's such a good show. But the book I'm reading right now is, I think it's called, The Radium Girls.
Ooh,
it's about the radium watch painters during like World War I and how, they all got cancer because they were taught to dip your paintbrush in radium and then lick it, like put it in your mouth so it would be a fine point paintbrush.
Oh my God.
So I'm reading that right now.
They get cancer of the tongue or?
Yeah, a lot of, bone cancer, jaw cancer, things like that.
Terrible.
I know.
Yeah. It sounds like an interesting book though. It's more like a historical kind of, is it fiction or is it?
No, it's nonfiction. And I love fiction and I love nonfiction, but I love anything with a historical bent to it because I'm a giant nerd. So.
Yes, exactly. I love, if I'm reading and you're learning something at the same time, it's even better.
I know. It's just like, it just makes my heart so happy.
I especially love people who can tell history from the perspective of a story. That's one reason I really love, I'm not going to be able to think his last name, David McCullough that wrote, John Adams and those books.
Gun, Germs and Steel. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, yeah.
Have you read anything by Ken Follett?
No, I haven't. Is it good?
Oh my gosh. Pillars of the Earth and things like that.
Good. Okay, I'm going to put that on my list. Pillars of the Earth.
They're incredibly long. Like each one's 1,000 pages, but they're so, so good. And he did, I think it's called the Century Trilogy. It starts with, Fall of Giants. That's the first one. And it covers the lead up to World War I through the end of it. And all three stories, because then there's two other books, are from the viewpoint of like a German family, an English family, a Russian family, and an American family.
Oh my God. That should be required reading.
Oh my gosh. It's so good. Or download it from your library and listen to it on your phone. It's so good.
I love the library. That's where I get a lot of my books that way.
Do you know that we're such library nerds that at my mom's memorial, the head librarian of our library actually attended? That's how
Oh,
much we love the library.
oh, that's really nice. Oh,
Yeah, I live in a great little town.
you do. It sounds like a small town where everybody knows each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Really good. So, Sarah, how can people find you online?
So my blog is Sustainable Cooks. My Pinterest is Sustainable Cooks. My Instagram is Sustainable Cooks. And because Facebook is very weird about you rebranding anything, you can either search for Sustainable Cooks in Facebook, or you can do facebook.com/frugal Sarah C.
They
Going back
won't
to
let you
that,
change it.
no, it's been a nightmare. And obviously you can email me at sarah@sustainablecooks.com. I love hearing from people. And if anyone has any questions about the boneheaded things that I have done to my site over the last 8 years, they can absolutely reach out to me. I'm an open book. I will tell them what stupid things I did and what things are working for me now.
Well, Sarah, thanks so much. I have really enjoyed talking with you today.
I've had so much fun, and I would like to say hi to my readers. They are just the best, and I love them so much. And thanks for sticking with me through the poop cookies and all the randomness. Your guys' support means more than you can ever imagine.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Marley.
Thanks to Sarah Cook for being my guest on today's episode of the Chopped Podcast. Be sure to sign up today for the Chopped Academy newsletter by going to chopped.academy. Just scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on subscribe. If you like today's show and you want to pay it forward, be sure and head over to iTunes or Stitcher and leave a review of the Chopped Podcast. It helps the show tremendously when we get that kind of positive feedback. It helps other people learn about the show as well. And then maybe next week, I'll be reading your review in the featured listener section. You inspire me, and I hope today's show was helpful and inspirational to you as well. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.